Ross Tucker, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, works for CBS Westwood One. He'll be on the sidelines for the AFC Championship game in Kansas City Sunday between the Bengals and the Chiefs for Westwood One, Tony Baselli and Ian Eagle. Did you wear a jockstrap when you played football?
Never, not once. I've never worn a jockstrap or a cup in my entire life. I don't know any football players that ever wore a cup. I do remember, I think like in college, I remember some guys wore jock straps, and that was like all they underneath their game pants. And the one year, our white home pants at Princeton were almost see-through, because I remember some moms were telling their sons that they could see their bare butts out on the field, and so that maybe they would want to wear like spandex shorts. I gotta tell you guys a story right now. I don't know how you got on the jock strap conversation this morning, but I swear as God is my witness, yesterday I pick up my girls from school. I'm driving to dance class and I do a radio hit somewhere. I don't know who I was talking to, but I said on it something about so-and-so couldn't hold his you-know-what. Okay, radio interview's over. We're walking in the dance class, and my daughters are 8 and 9. My one daughter says, "What's a you-know-what? What was the you-know-what that they couldn't hold?" And I was like a jock strap, like a jock. And they said, what's a jock strap? And I said, well, it's a thing that like holds a boy's private so they don't flop around. And they both looked at me like their eyes got real big. I can't believe you guys either bugged my car. How are you having the same conversation that I had with my daughters like 10 hours ago?
It's a teaching moment for you. I love that. Because in a million years, you'd never think, when you say to your wife, oh, did you talk to the girl? What'd you talk about? Something that holds on to your privates. And then your wife or your daughters go home and say, hey, Dad brought up this thing that you put your thing in so it doesn't jiggle around, Mom.
Yeah. How do I explain that one? And they're in the back seat in their car seats. And I'm talking about something football. Oh man, they couldn't hold his you-know-what. I didn't even say jock, but when you say you-know-what, your kids want to know what is you-know-what. And so I was like, jock. So I had to go through the whole, it was hilarious and eye-opening. And so they haven't referenced it yet. I don't think they told my wife. It's a good thing nobody's listening or watching.
Our buddy hosts a bunch of podcasts, including the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. And you can check him out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Ben Roethlisberger announces the obvious that he's going to step down. Ben Roethlisberger's legacy is going to be what?
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I think about when I think of him, Dan? I think of a couple things. And I know people want to dive into the off the field stuff. I'm not really going to go there. That was a long time ago. We've talked about it quite a bit. For some people, by the way, that is part of his legacy. That is something that they bring up. And look, I see it all the time. I mean, that is something that people will bring up. And I know he has to live with that. I feel like the thing that jumps out to me is just how much he's matured on and off the field during his career. I mean, Dan, when he was first there, and I know you know this because you talk to enough people, but I'm going to say it. He was the last guy to get there and the first guy to leave. That's what I was told. And some of the years I was told that his weight would get up there during the season to 260, 270, 275. And I remember distinctly thinking, there's no way this guy plays more than like 10 years. What a terrible combination of not watching what you eat and your weight ballooning up, and you don't put the time in to really be able to excel with the mental aspect of the game. He got by playing street ball early in his career. I always said that if I was ever going to play in my backyard or like at recess, Roethlisberger would have been my guy. He had the most uncanny ability to shrug guys off fend them off. I mean, they invented a new way to tackle quarterbacks because of him. You couldn't tackle him low. You couldn't tackle him high. He would still throw the ball. You had to tackle his right wrist. You had to tackle the ball because he was that big, that strong. So to me, his ability to mature with how he lived his life off the field and mature as a football player, lose weight, put the mental aspect of the game, get rid of the ball faster. He really transitioned during his career.
Steelers more likely to trade, sign a free agent, or draft their next quarterback? Or stay with what they have?
Yeah, I think what they have is, I think they've done a nice job there, actually, of having a baseline of Mason Rudolph and Haskins competing. I don't think anybody has delusions of grandeur for either one of those guys, but it's not a terrible fallback plan, right? I think somewhat curious they might be about what Mason Rudolph could do. I don't know that I envision them drafting one where they're drafting unless they love somebody, which could be possible. Maybe Kenny Pickett falls to them and they love him because he's right there in Pittsburgh. I think trade is probably more likely. That's sort of been the Steeler way. I know their fans are convinced that one of these veteran guys wants to come there. I'm not so sure that's the case. I'm not so sure following Ben in Pittsburgh is as enticing to an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson as Steelers fans might think it is.
The news broke this morning. Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network said the Broncos were going to hire the Packers offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. That would lead you to believe what, Ross Tucker?
It's hard for me to imagine, Dan, that Aaron Rodgers is a 0% factor in that decision. I don't think he's a huge factor because there's so many different things in play with his contractual status, the Packers trading him, all those things. But there had been rumors that he wanted to go to Denver last year. I think there were rumors on draft day that he was close to being traded to Denver. You'd have to think the Packers would prefer to trade him to the AFC if that's what he wants to do. I don't think he wants to be there. I think I told you last week that if he lost, I thought he would be as good as gone. I'm going to stick with that. I don't think he's going to be back in Green Bay. And I think Denver's a good possibility. And I think if the Packers are going to give Aaron Rodgers a decent amount of say in this, man, he kind of already wanted to go there. And now they get the offensive coordinator that he really, really likes. You know, I would say that they're certainly, Dan, feathering the nest for Aaron Rodgers, for sure, in Denver.
Is that the first feathering the nest reference we've had, Paulie?
This year?
I think since we've been doing this, I think that's the first feathering the nest.
Checking.
Okay, thank you.
What does it even mean, by the way? I never even heard that until we had kids. And feathering the nest is like, that's like when my wife got the cribs ready and like the nursery or whatever, like getting ready for that's what it means, right?
I think so. Feathering the nest.
So that's what the Broncos are doing. They're feathering the nest for baby Aaron.
Yes, Paulie.
I see that a definition, feathering the nest, you mean someone is getting a lot of money out of something so they could lead a comfortable life.
Oh.
Mary is much more interested in doing things for other people than feathering her own nest.
Oh.
That means we're taking care of what you do or what your house.
And Aaron Rodgers.
Wow. I've never heard it referenced that way.
It could be multiple definite. You're the Princeton guy.
Yeah, you're the Ivy League guy.
So what?
I say that.
So
I agree. You Ivy Leaguers book smart. So what? Are you street smart? That's what I want.
Hey, you want to hear something, Dan? This is the truth too. Okay. There's a correlation, but there are plenty of Ivy League guys, and I know because I've had coaches tell me that their football intelligence was not where it needed to be, and it's part of the reason why they got cut. I know two guys for sure because I talked to coaches afterwards that they said he just couldn't pick things up from a football standpoint. Meanwhile, there are guys that are probably not real good in school, not real book smart, unbelievable football intelligence and IQ. Unbelievable, off the charts. I think there's some correlation, but I don't think it's as heavily correlated as people otherwise might think.
You got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals have beaten the Chiefs during the regular season a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati. How does Cincinnati beat Kansas City?
I think it's tough. I really think it's tough. Probably similar to what they did the last time. They need Jamar Chase to just go bananas and have over 200 yards receiving, 2 long touchdowns. I think the Chiefs will have a different defensive strategy this time, Dan. Last time they played a lot of man-to-man with a single high safety. And when you do that, that single high safety is in the middle of the field. He can't get to the sideline. He can't get outside the numbers. And Joe Burrow, I was talking with Greg Cosell about this on the Ross Tucker podcast this morning. If it's one-on-one, Dan, Joe Burrow just throws it. He trusts his guys, Chase and Higgins. He throws it up to those guys, gives them a chance to make a play, and they do. I think that the Chiefs will have more 2 deep safety coverages to not allow Chase and Higgins to beat them deep down the sideline and make the Bengals have to move the ball a little bit more. And why wouldn't you? I mean, the offensive line can't hold up. The one big knock I have on Joe right now, he takes sacks you just can't take.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something he'll improve on for next year, but they're dead if he takes those sacks. And it's Frank Clark, Melvin Ingram, Chris Jones against the Bengals O-line. You know how I am, Dan. I'm on this. I'm praying for a close game. I hope it's an epic, awesome back and forth. I'm a little bit worried that this game could get away from the Bengals. Mahomes is not throwing 3 picks like Tannehill did. That's just not happening. He just doesn't do it. And I don't think that the Bengals are going to be able to light up the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will have a better defensive plan. I don't know. It feels like 30-20 maybe. The Chiefs win by double digits. I hope it's closer than that, but I'm a little bit worried that this is kind of the end of the line for the Bengals. And in the second half, they start to, feel good about what they've accomplished this year and how far they've come.
Who has changed the conversation about their careers more, Odell Beckham or Matthew Stafford?
Oh, Matthew Stafford. I think Odell Beckham is helping it, but he wasn't a gigantic factor in that last game. I mean, for Matthew Stafford to win 2 playoff games, to win on the road against Tom Brady, and to make the incredibly clutch throws, especially the last one that he made after all the momentum had been lost. I mean, Dan, I said this during the game. Certain things only happen to the team playing against Tom Brady in the playoffs. I don't know if he did a deal with the devil or he has a voodoo witch. 4 fumbles. I mean, the ball gets snapped and Stafford's not ready for it. Cam Akers fumbles with 1.5 minutes left. Your kicker's short on a 47-yard field goal in the NFL. I don't think I've ever even seen that. I mean, things happen in that game I couldn't believe. For the Rams to give up a 27-3 lead and Stafford still right the ship and make that throw while Ndamukong Suh was about to kill him, it's incredible. Stafford has changed a lot of opinions. He's made the Rams right for bringing him in. And I think he's got a great chance to go to the Super Bowl if they can beat the Niners, obviously. It's tough for the Niners to win 7 straight. They've won 6 in a row. I like the Rams in that game, although it'll be a great close one. Stafford's changed the opinion of him. You know who else has changed their opinion, I think, a little bit? Josh Allen. I think there were some people that were still a little skeptical of Josh Allen. With what he did in those 2 playoff games, now people are calling him the 1B to Patrick Mahomes' 1A.
Have a great weekend. Great to talk to you again. We'll talk to you next week.
Always. Thanks, guys.
That's Ross Tucker, never wore a jockstrap, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. He'll be on the sidelines working the AFC title game